This is an example. This is actually a federal data center. It was an 8,000 square foot data center. They paid 80 grand for this analysis, and it was really beautiful. It captured a ton of points. It had all these great graphs and charts and all this other good stuff. Provided PUE, DCIE, a couple other industry metrics, and temperature, and power, and humidity. It suggested programs in ROI to better align temperature to control to rack airlet and inlet air, amend air volume, play with dew point controls, amend airflow to the UPS rooms. The UPS rooms were outside of the main data center. So the total cost of implementation was $460,000. That does not include the $80,000 you put out front to get this analysis. And the anticipated annual savings was $84,000 a year, and your return on investment was 5.5 years, right? This is what we did for one of the pilot programs that we did in New York. So it was 30,000 square feet of data center broken into 8 cells. In a half a day of work with a air speed temperature gauge and a FLIR camera, an infrared camera. We did a half a day walkthrough of 4 of the cells, and we're able to say that half a day of the compiled report, so a day of consulting. They did in a 1,500 square foot room, they had 4 30-ton crack units delivering 50,000 CFM or 500 kW of IT load. The actual IT load was 108 kW, which is astounding. So really, essentially, the temperature in the entire room was one single temperature. So it doesn't matter if you're hot or you're cold or whatever, but if it's your delta T, the difference between what's coming out and what's coming back is only a couple degrees, you're not doing something right. So they had deployed 4-foot cold aisles with 56% airflow tiles. If you know what they look like, it just looks like an open metal grate, and they were side by side. So essentially, there was no speed to the air. So what we had suggested was there's a new type of floor tile, costs roughly the same as a regular floor tile, that has fins on the bottom that would direct the air a little bit better. And just with that remediation, they could shut off 2 of the 4 crack units, so 50%. In other rooms, it was a third, but in this one, it was 50%. So the cost of the implementation was $15,000. The anticipated annual energy savings was $25,000. Mind you, it's New York, so it's 16 cents a kilowatt hour, which is a lot more expensive than most places. And the return on investment was 7.5 months. Google. And I had a conversation with a guy from Google. I stumbled across this paper, and it was basically a walk you through their point, what they call their POPs, but they look like a small data center, like 5,000 to 8,000 square feet, where they essentially they walk you through every single remediation, starting with a PUE, what they did, what it cost. They just basically optimize airflow through blanking, sealing gaps, targeting trouble spots by changing floor tile configuration. They deployed a cold aisle containment with curtains. They raised their crack air room temperature, and the crack, the top of the crack, with a metal, just put a metal thing on the top of it by 4 feet, which helped to capture the return air better. They increased the temperature from 71 degrees to 81. They increased the humidity range, something that is a big debate in the data center space. Humidity is not as important as everybody says it is. I hope I don't offend anybody. They did that. They were able to reduce the number of cracks from 4 to 2, and they actually were colder after all these remediations. So the cost of implementation was $25,000. Again, you're not Google, so you don't have the smarts, or they probably have a lot of software to do CFD, computational fluid dynamics studies and things like that. But you can take some of these basic things and have confidence to raise set points and do things like that. But in this example, and if you can't find it, you can contact me and I'll send it to you, the white paper. But the anticipated savings was $67,000, and the ROI was 2.7 months. And they went from a PUE of 2.4 to 1.5 in 5 rooms. So, and I think you'll start to see A lot of the commercial sector is really looking for a place to tout their abilities because they're getting a lot of flack about what they're doing in the data center. So you're starting to see the leaders, the financial services guys and the tech folks that are building these facilities really get aggressive about what they're saying, they're doing in the spaces and publishing them, and not just publishing results, but talking about exactly what they did, how they did it, where they did it, and how much they saved. So I think there's a mountain of data out there right now, and it's just going to get more and more. From a federal sector standpoint, the reliance on certain technologies and certain principles seem to be somewhat problematic.